Okay, so Hare Krishna. My name is Dineshwar Das, and I am here with several of my friends. We are discussing my book, Divine or Demonic, Spiritual Movements and the Enemies Within, and its practical application to how we move forward with Prabhupada's mission. And as many devotees know, there's a lot of focus on the past, a lot of focus with the problems of Iskcon, especially the illegal and morally repugnant activities of many of the leaders, unfortunately. But that's taking up a lot of time, and time we should be using, valuable time we should be using for pushing forward the movement and bringing Krishna consciousness to many other people. So if, for those who haven't seen my book before, are you getting that? Yeah. Okay. So this is the title, or the cover of the book. And the front cover, Divine or Demonic, Spiritual Movements and the Enemies Within, which is a rather shocking image, deliberately so, because it's meant to convey exactly what I conclude is going on. That the two fellows on the right wearing masks or holding masks, and we see from the quotes on the back of the book, Prabhupada, there are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in the Krishna consciousness movement, and they should be completely neglected. And then, of course, is very much like Jesus. Beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. So my conclusion after 45 years of participating in Iskcon is that the we are not moving forward because there are people who have infiltrated our society and who have done so deliberately to prevent the success of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And I say that based on one phrase that Prabhupada used repeatedly, phalena parichyate, judged by the result. And the result after 50 years is that something's wrong. Something's very wrong. And in my book, in fact, I quote, something's so wrong that bhaktas and bhaktins, they understand something's wrong. So in the book, I quote one bhaktin, Rachel. In 2012, she posted a paper online asking, who will clean up this mess? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but parts of it. She says, I was happy at least that they're investigating Iskcon. I was happy at least that there was open dialogue with the devotees discussing the problems of the society, but I could not help but feel that there was something overall wrong with Iskcon society. Now, this is a bhaktin, right? It seems to me that should I continue on my path to serve Srila Prabhupada and Krishna the way I understand it to be, then I will have set myself against the bulk of the devotees in Iskcon. I'm not sure that I want to do this. I want Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, but at what cost will this be to me? Will I be shouted at or run from the temple by the very devotees who I've known for 4 years and thought of as their enemy? I want to be a devotee, and sure, I want it to be easy. I gave up so many things to come this far, and now that I am smitten, I can see that the real problems I have to face are inside the very society I want to join. And then she concludes, I wanted to add that I don't want to join any group affiliated with Iskcon. I want to be in Srila Prabhupada's Iskcon. So please don't, as others have, suggest that I join their Iskcon society. I want this sorted out so that I can join what Srila Prabhupada started. Thank you. Bhaktin, right? So This Bhaktin can see that, but the GBC cannot? No, right? And many thousands of devotees have seen the same thing over the years, and they vote with their feet. They've left the society because they find that the leadership is incorrigible. They will not be corrected. So today I want to talk about what are we going to do to get on with the preaching. First of all, we have to understand, in reply to that, what is Iskcon? Because this is a topic that many devotees come up with, let's say, are troubled by. They don't want to leave Iskcon. And so we have to understand, what is Iskcon? And so in the book, in part 2 of the book, which is about Iskcon, one of the first chapters is, what is a devotee? Because if I make the claim that there are infiltrators into society who appear to be devotees but are not, then we must understand what is a devotee. And in that chapter, I show from pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam many, many examples, not just Bhagavatam, but also Chaitanya Charitamrita, that there's 2 aspects to a devotee. There's the form, right? The tilak, the appropriate dress, and so on, or titles. And then there's the substance. Now, many people, especially neophyte devotees, cannot help but become bewildered by the form because they don't know anything. So they see a Maharaj, somebody with a danda, or somebody with a title, temple president, and they think, well, this is the person, the authority, and I should listen to them. But very often those persons, they do not have the substance of a devotee, which is what? Which is demonstrated by their behavior and action, that they understand the Vaishnava Siddhanta and follow it. So in the chapter, What is a Devotee? I give several examples of people who have the form, but they don't have the substance. And who would that be? Putana witch, one of the first ones we read in Krishna book, right? She looked like a very beautiful woman, so much so that Mother Yasoda let her in to nurse baby Krishna, but no substance. So she was killed by Krishna. Or how about, let's see, who else do we have? Drawing a blank. Vishaba, any suggestion?
Shurpanaka from Ramayana.
Oh, yeah. The one who is imitating with 4 arms. What was his name? Yeah. You know. Anyway, so he was,
yeah.
he fixed on 2 more arms and he said,
Puranjana.
no, fixed on 2 more arms and he says, I'm Vishnu, and he challenged, Krishna. So there's materialists, they have nothing to go on besides form. So that Pundraka, thank you very much. So they get the form and they think that they have the substance, but they don't. Or another aspect of that can be that they get the title, right? And, you're a temple president, you're a GBC, you're a sannyasi, whatever title. And then they think, oh, okay, yes, I am. But they don't have the substance. And then there's other examples of devotees who have substance, but not the form. There's many examples of that, like Haridas Thakur, right? He had so much substance, right? He didn't have the form, so he was not allowed in the Sri Mandir, Jagannath Temple, but he had the substance so much so that Lord Chaitanya himself came to visit Haridas every day. So there's many, many examples like that. Now, when we get to the next chapter is what is Iskcon? Now, the same thing applies. There's both the form and the substance. And what are we interested in? Are we interested in form or substance? So, what's the form? The form is the temple, the organizational structure of GBC, temple president, and so on. These things are all form. Okay, what's the substance of Iskcon? And that substance is Srila Prabhupada's instructions for his society that he wanted and expected the devotees to follow. When Prabhupada established the GBC, he wanted them to do simply what he was doing, to travel to the temples, to give classes, enliven the devotees, make sure everybody was following principles, chanting 16 rounds, and when necessary, adjudicate any problems. That's what Prabhupada did. That's what he wanted them to do. He needed assistance. There was a worldwide society. So, but unfortunately, as soon as Srila Prabhupada established the GBC, almost immediately he had to chastise them for thinking that they were the absolute controllers. And so he even at one time disbanded the GBC for doing things that without being authorized, that is just taking it on themselves to add a Trey Rishi as a member of the GBC, as a secretary, and try to centralize everything. Prabhupada was very much against the centralization. So what they were doing is they were trying to create an institution. And Prabhupada did not create an institution. This point I explain in great detail. Based on the direction of management in which the GBC was created, and on Prabhupada's 7 purposes of Iskcon from the incorporation papers and so on, and then from Prabhupada's instructions to his senior men. So what is Iskcon then? Iskcon is Srila Prabhupada and his instructions and what he has given us. He said, you simply do this, and Krishna will give you the intelligence, give you the help of what to do. Prabhupada himself did not create an institution. He wanted every temple to be autonomous, independent, with no centralization. The only thing he centralized was the BBT for various reasons. But the temples were all supposed to be independent, and basically Iskcon was supposed to be a confederation of independent temples. But the GBC, even from the beginning, tried to consolidate everything, and now that Srila Prabhupada, or let's say since Srila Prabhupada has not been with us, they have centralized everything to an extreme degree. So my point is, Iskcon is not the GBC. Iskcon is Srila Prabhupada's instructions and his legacy, as well as the Vaishnava Siddhanta. And then the next point is, what is Iskcon meant to do? Prabhupada, what was he trying to do? Trying to give Krishna consciousness to the world, trying to extend Lord Chaitanya's mercy to the entire world. And so for that, when he was with us, all the devotees were so very eager to help him. They were very enthusiastic to join with him and to take great risk, depending on Krishna. So one devotee, for example, Shivananda Prabhu, he went to Germany, I think it was, young man, by himself, no money, went to Germany and opened temples. He opened several temples in Europe, just depending on Krishna, right? And what? Krishna helped him. So Prabhupada instructed us like that. He said, you simply do what I ask you to do. Krishna will give you what you need. Don't worry about it. So another example of that. Let's consider, how has Krishna consciousness spread in the Soviet Union before the Soviet Union fell? There were hundreds, even thousands of devotees before the Soviet Union fell. The what they do, they somehow or other, there's a wonderful video on YouTube of Kirti Raj and Hari, or Haripad, the former Haripad, speaking about the things that they did to get Krishna consciousness inside Iskcon. Anyway, they took a lot of very unusual methods to send books in, to get information in. Devotees went undercover and distributed books. But what happened was, what you have? You had a situation where there was no temples, there was no hierarchy, there was no establishment, there was no form. But the Soviet devotees, the Soviet people, were so hungry for spiritual life that whatever they can get their hands on, when they got a hold of Srila Prabhupada's books, they were so amazed. And so at great risk to themselves, they took it upon themselves to distribute the books. In fact, the books were very rare. And so what did they do? They hand copied them. And each person had they passed the books around, and each person could only keep it even for one day or maybe even several hours, and then they had to pass it on to the next person. And they would copy pages, and then the next time they would get the book, they would copy some more. And in this way, by their own initiative, they were taking Krishna consciousness to everyone else. So they had the substance. The substance is what's required, not the form. Form is not required. Well, Prabhupada, when he came to the United States, when he first started preaching, there was no form. And in fact, what we find is the devotees who joined, this is my opinion now, the devotees who joined in those early days before there was no form, the devotees who went and opened the temples themselves, they understood the substance. But those who came later, when there were nice, big, fancy temples, they took the form to be the substance. And so we don't see that they have the same understanding or the same commitment many times to Christian consciousness. Now, of course, this is a generalization, and it's not true. There's many, many exceptions to that rule. But so, this is what we want to stay with. We want to avoid having a institution, because let me back up. Many organizations start out like that. They start out as without any formality, just a group of people who get together. And then they decide, because we're conditioned by the dominant culture that we live in, when we start something, we think, oh, okay, well, yeah, you need a president and a vice president and a treasurer, and that's the way we do things because that's how we're conditioned. But we don't need that, okay? That's unnecessary. Prabhupada called it the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. What's a society? A bunch of people that get together to share an interest, right? You don't need a form for that. Come together, have a kirtan, right? Maybe you come over to somebody's house, they have deities, you'd have an arti, have a kirtan, discuss Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, take prasadam. What form do you need for that? You don't need any. You just have the substance. But what happens inevitably, and this is not just for us, but inevitably, most groups, they develop a formal institution. Now, I'm going to give a definition of institution that I'm using in my life, and when I refer to Iskcon, let's say the GBC's Iskcon, this is what I'm referring to when I talk about an institution. And that is any permanent social organization with purposes of its own, having a formalized and structured rules and methods for pursuing those purposes, making and enforcing rules of conduct in order to control those within it. An institution is an independent, self-justifying, self-perpetuating organization that for all practical purposes is not accountable to nor under the control of its members. And unfortunately, this is what Iskcon, our modern Iskcon, the GBC's Iskcon, has become. This is not Srila Prabhupada's Iskcon. It was not like that. So Prabhupada had a particular method for his spreading Christian consciousness. And what Prabhupada did was establish the principles. This is what everybody had to follow. And then he let devotees go out and however they were inspired to establish temples and extend the preaching. And so, like he said, just do what I've told you to do. Do what I've taught you. So many devotees would go out and they would rent a house or flat, and they would put up an altar and invite people to come on over and discuss Krishna. I had one such preaching center also when I was a devotee of just 3 years. 4 years. No, 3 years. Yeah. So, it's not rocket science. Anybody can do this. Invite people over, discuss Bhagavad Gita according to your own ability. And if you don't have any understanding, just read Bhagavad Gita, read Bhagavatam, and have a kirtan and share what you understand. So there's this process, this method of organized unorganization, I guess you could call it. There's a word for that. It's called chaotic, the combination of the two words chaos and order. And this method is actually being used by many organizations now. They see that this is a way to get things done, because generally when you have a hierarchy of authority, everybody gets bogged down because they got to go get approval, right? The people, the rank and file can't do anything themselves, as if they didn't have a brain. They have to go get somebody else to approve it. And in many cases, the rank and file, they've got a better idea than the person who's supposed to be giving the approval. So for example, there's one fellow on YouTube. He gave a TED talk about organization and institutions. His name was Clay Shirky. And he was giving an example. How did the what's it called? The mountain bike come into existence? Well, you might think that it was some big bicycle company and they sat down and they had a brainstorm and, well, let's make a bike look like this and this and this for this purpose. But that wasn't it. The mountain bike came about by different people who liked bicycling, and they wanted to bicycle down hills, and they needed a different type of bicycle than what the bicycle companies were manufacturing. So they themselves created the mountain bike, and they would tweak it. They would try this thing and then that thing, and then everybody would contribute their ideas, and then voila, you got a mountain bike. And now mountain bikes are something like 40% of the entire market, 40% of the entire bicycle market. So the point here is that the people, they don't need a hierarchy. They can do it themselves. They've got enough brains and understanding. Okay. What's the fastest growing church in America right now? It's called the cell church. No minister, no priest, nothing like that. It's just people inviting other people over to discuss scripture, to discuss the Bible and their understanding of it, and trying to enthuse each other for understanding how, if we live according to the principles of the Bible, then it'll be good for us and it'll be good for the world. Very similar to what was going on in the Soviet Union, and almost identical to what Bhaktivinoda Thakur established, calling the Maha-mantra program, right? Invite people to your house, talk about Krishna consciousness, have a kirtan, do an arti if you have deities, and take prasadam. Very simple. So this is the way, this is what you need. This is the substance. And this is the way that, let's say, it's a way of getting out of our own way, right? Again, the organization that doesn't have official hierarchy of control, they're able to get things done much, much faster than those companies who have a very rigid structure. A good example of that is startups. Startups are, a couple of people, entrepreneurs, they get together, they got an idea, they're going to make it happen. Well, it's an idea perhaps that the big companies wouldn't touch. I'll give you another example from Clay Shirky. Rap music, right? It wasn't created by the record companies. They didn't get together and say, "Oh, let's see, let's make a style of music that's going to be, it's kind of a different from hip hop. It's going to be, kind of maybe even crude. It's going to appeal to young black men, maybe even be vulgar and reflect on social issues of the day." No, didn't happen like that. Okay, what was it? It was a bunch of young black men who were disaffected, who were angry, and they created their own genre of music called rap music. And again, like the mountain bike, rap music is a huge percentage of the recording industry. So examples like that. This is what I'm trying to promote for how we can spread Krishna consciousness in the fastest way to get Krishna, to get the Lord Chaitanya's mercy out to the entire world. And so I'm appealing to all the devotees. Let's forget the past. Let's stop putting energy into thinking about how we're going to fix Iskcon, rather meaning the form of Iskcon, the GBC, or the pedophiles in Iskcon, or the lawbreakers in Iskcon, or whatever. That's a waste of our time. It doesn't serve the purpose of what the organization is meant to do, which is to take Krishna consciousness to the world. So this is my appeal, that we forget the past. Let's focus on how are we going to get Lord Chaitanya's mercy to the world. Forget organization. We don't have to build another organization. We don't have to make a parallel Iskcon, one that's going to, run in competition. Nothing like that. Let's just give Krishna to others, distribute books, tell people about Krishna, and encourage them to come together for kirtan and for learning from each other, not some official person who knows everything. Okay, everybody has something, and probably all of us, we have some experience. We go to the temple as very new person. We're inquiring, and there's some bhakta who's been there 2 weeks or 2 months before us, and he's helping us understand according to his understanding, right? He's sharing what he understands according to his ability and what's made him enthusiastic, what he's discovered or she's discovered. And we progress like that. So it's just one helping another to understand more and more and more. How? By focusing on learning from Srila Prabhupada's books. Not that we sit down and listen to some expert, somebody with a title or position, and they're going to tell us what Krishna consciousness is, and then we take it. Okay, well, that's what I do, right? I come to the temple, I listen to them, and I chant my rounds, and that's it. And many devotees don't read for that reason, but that's not it. There's more to it than that. Okay. So anyway, this is the effort that I'm promoting, that we establish a non-institutional organization only meaning to gather together to have a way of communicating with others who are doing the same thing. We don't need a hierarchy of somebody that's going to tell us what to do. We just learn from the books, read Prabhupada books. What does he tell us to do? And do that. Okay, so I'll stop there. And maybe there's some questions now or comments.
I surely do have comments.
Sure.
Yeah, this is really, I think after a long time, I feel inspired to really go to uplift my sadhana, to take more Prabhupada books and read them more, because I feel that this is the way a Prabhupada movement should work, and in this way it means I feel that the time of reading books can really make a lot of sense, because in this way, preaching in this way makes sense. Preaching in the way Iskcon is doing already for a long time, it's really uninspiring, and actually I have, in the beginning, years ago, I was thinking, like we're doing preaching programs, but when we bring people to temple, we should be really careful, who is dealing with them, because we're afraid that people will get disinspired or misled in temples, in Iskcon temples. Then later on, I was sure about it, that we shouldn't bring new people to temples, because they get misled, because they get, just like we bring them to cult, where they are then exploited as a volunteer workforce, or exploit in some other ways, and surely not inspired in spiritual pursuit, but rather they may be, like schooled well, in different shastras, but understanding of these shastras then is not proper, is actually wrong, because they teach them, in outside looks very nice, very spiritual teaching, but when they say you have to follow GBC, everything is spoiled. Then that moment, everything is spoiled. So, and I came to a conclusion that to follow the now the Iskcon organization is actually non-benevolent for spiritual advancement. It's actually destructive for one's spiritual development, and in this way, reading spiritual books of Prabhupada and giving this knowledge to other people without pushing them into some cult organization and so on, it's inspiring. So thank you very much.
Hi. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. The essence, right? We come because we're enthusiastic to hear. We're learning something that's wonderfully revolutionary. It's real truth. But then we get bogged down by being led to, or being instructed to support the form, and we don't get the substance that we need. Yeah. So, and I don't want to say that, or even imply that it's all due to Kali Chelas within the society, but again, many innocents, they come, they're they're Prakrita Bhaktas, they're Kanishta Adhikaris. They're bewildered by form, and so they take the form as everything, and they don't get the substance, and so they perpetuate that, unfortunately. So, it's for those who are fixated on the form, it's going to be very challenging to get them to let go of that and to try to shift over to finding the substance again. Ideally, hopefully they could do that, right, by good association, but maybe not. What I'm appealing to is that we use our energy to work with the innocent, to take Krishna consciousness to the innocent people of the world who are looking for this, particularly at this time. The world is in so much craziness. We're going to get another round of vaccines and masks and, fear porn again soon. And people are afraid. Where do they go for shelter? And many people, even, you can call them conspiracy theorists, they think that my government's trying to kill me. Okay, well, maybe there's evidence for that, but there's a lot of people like that. And if that's the case, where do you go for shelter when your own government is trying to kill you? Where do we find shelter? Well, we find shelter in God, Krishna. And we have to help people who are looking for that shelter to find it now. Doesn't matter what their motivation is, huh? Whether, they're wearing tinfoil hats or whatever, that's okay. People come to Christian consciousness for so many reasons. The point is, we want to give them what we have. That's our duty as followers of Srila Prabhupada. What else?
I have a question.
Sure.
Srila Prabhu, thank you very much for your nice presentation. I appreciate very much your the fact that you said that we have to focus on spreading Krishna consciousness to the people who are in need for that. But in my opinion, this is one part of our activity. But I think we should also focus on fighting those who are the major obstacle for preaching mission, and that's the lawbreakers. We shouldn't neglect the child molesters and people who adulterate Srila Prabhupada's books. They must be removed, otherwise our mission will be hampered. Do you agree with me? We have to have, it's like two-side mission. On one side, we have to preach to new people. On another side, we have to fight those who opposed to Srila Prabhupada's standards. I think it's also very, very necessary because we cannot neglect all the victims of pedophiles in Iskcon and the books being changed. Is there anything you can say about that?
How much energy will you put there?
Uh,
Yeah, so
50,
okay,
50.
you're reflecting Bhakti and Rachel. Remember,
Yeah.
Bhakti and Rachel, she
Yeah.
wants to join Prabhupada's movement, not some
Exactly.
other society. I want to be in Srila Prabhupada's Iskcon. So don't suggest I join their Iskcon society like others have suggested. Sort this out. So, there's been problems in Iskcon going on since Srila Prabhupada left, immediately after Srila Prabhupada left. That's been 45 years now. 46. And have they been sorted out? Look, personally, I'm out of time, right? I got too many white hairs. I'm out of time. I don't have time to put into that. I want to put my time where it's going to get maximum return. And, sadly, I mean, if it would bear some fruit, I would say, yes, we have an obligation to do that. But there's been attempts to fix the society for 46 years. And it's not getting fixed. What does that tell you? Right? If a Bhaktin can see it and the GBC can't or won't fix it, what's that say? They're not in the right place. They're not the right people. But there's no way to change them. The rank and file have no way to affect any change in the society. That's been done by the GBC. So what do most of the devotees do? When they come to this realization, they vote with their feet. And it's extremely sad. Okay? So I'll give you another example. I have one god brother he's participating in the CPO, the Child Protection Office. They've been investigating, and as you may have seen, there's a lot of discussion about this recently, about the sexual abuse of children in the society by people wearing saffron and having titles. He told me, well, I can't tell you everything because it's still, we're still working on this. But he said, you cannot imagine how dark it is. He said, it is so beyond the pale. And these same people are sitting on Vyasasans in the society. Now, he first started telling me that in April this year. What's that? April, May, June, July, August. So 4 months ago, when he first told me about it, he said, I'll be able to tell you everything in a couple of weeks. It's coming to a close. Every time I check in with him, a couple more weeks. We're going to have it in a couple more weeks. Or let me give you another example. Hansarupa Prabhu, my godbrother, he went to Mayapur to investigate embezzlement of the funds. And he had the evidence, right? Money was being embezzled by the millions of dollars. And he had a prosecutor, a cop from the government with him. Yes, we've got him. What happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. Why? The prosecutor was bribed. So, how are you going to fix people that don't want to be fixed? Unless you've got some kind of authority to come in there and take care of business, right? We need a Kshatriya. We need a guy with a sword, right? Who can understand right and wrong and use that sword to fix things once and for all. Well, unfortunately, we're in the 21st century in a demonic civilization, and we can't do things that way. So, how do you fix it? They don't want to be fixed. So how much time are you going to spend pursuing that which you cannot accomplish? Because there's no means to do that. There's no mechanism within Iskcon that you can change the GBC.
I don't think they should be. Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't think they should be fixed. They cannot be fixed. They should be they should be removed. Where there is a will, there is a way. You give for example, Wexler, Bhaktivedanta, so-called Bhaktivedanta Purna. If the police in India is bribable, and but he's a citizen of the USA, he could be sued in the USA. Am I not right?
I don't know
I think
I don't know the particulars about the laws, but that's been known for more than 10 years by other leaders, right, who have done nothing. What do? How long do you let it go on? You have to separate yourself from those people and use your energy in the best way you can. Baladev?
We had 5 uprising in Ljubljana temple, 5 in last 20 years. Each time about 10 or more fixed up devotees stood up against the leadership that is there already for 25 years. And, you know, like, we can't move them. And they're just some local TPs and, you know, Bhakta Joes, you know, and we can't move them. How can we move GBCs? How can we move whatever? You know, they're super corrupt. They're super corrupt. You know, like I said last time, I have left a message, you know, and somebody also said, it's not that GBC decides where he will be a GBC. It's local temples. They invite the GBC they want, which will serve their purpose. You know, so their purpose in Ljubljana is they found a GBC who is supporting them so that nobody can move them. And for the service, he gets free accommodation and food. I mean, it's like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we're there, you know, like unmovable. It's unmovable objects.
we live in a demonic culture. First of all, understand that the demons have been in charge of this world for thousands of years. Okay, that you must always understand. And what do? They want control. And how do they get it? They establish corporations with a hierarchical, top-down command control structure that's legally there. And you cannot change it from the outside. They fix it like that, right? Look at the United States government now. Practically, there's a revolution ready to happen here because the government of this country is so corrupt. And it's corrupt deeply in all the institutions. How do you fix it? Okay. Like what they did, right? How did this country get started? People left Europe and came here so that they weren't bogged down by some royalty that was trying to control them. The same thing is going on. Okay. Whether innocently or by design, it's going on. So how are you going to find freedom, right? You find freedom by associating with those who are like-minded, right? Who understand what needs to be done, and you work with them to accomplish those positive goals.
I believe that at some point when there might be some serious number of people who understand that, then we can stand up and fight, to say like this, you know. But I believe that this may happen or may not happen, but we are far away from there, you know. Like we basically need to even gather ourselves together first, you know, like-minded people who understand that what Iskcon is doing is wrong, and then there are many other religious institutions in this world which are totally misleading people. But we will not fix them in this way, that we will fight them because we're losing energy in this way.
This is what I put in the first part of my book, which many devotees think is about Christianity, but no, it's about the Vaishnavas who were living in Palestine in the 1st century. They were Vaishnavas like us. Jesus and his followers were Vaishnavas like us, and there's a lot of evidence to that fact in the Nag Hammadi text and Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, so if they were Vaishnavas like us, what happened? That's what, you know, sets up part 2 of the book about Iskcon. The same thing is being repeated. Jesus and his followers were destroyed. Their original teachings were destroyed. They were scattered everywhere, the ones that survived. They tried to kill as many as possible. The Albigensian Crusade in Europe was started to ferret them out and to kill the ones who understood the eternal religion. There was a whole crusade by the Roman Church. So if you would have told Jesus and his apostles in, while Jesus was around, that all you guys are going to be, you're going to be the opposition, right? The Roman government's going to take over what you're doing, make a religion out of you, Jesus, an impotent religion that has no spiritual value or very little. And the rest of you, you're going to be hunted down, killed, and neglected. Now, is that going to happen to us? Could it happen to us? Sure it can. Why? Because there's demons who are running this world, right? And they are determined to destroy every semblance of religion and the absolute truth in this world the moment that it makes its appearance. Read Bhaktisiddhanta's article, Putana, right? King Kamsa is ready, looking for the appearance of the absolute so that he can destroy it the minute it makes its appearance. That's going on. Don't be asleep. Don't think this world is a nice world. It's not. The demons are trying to destroy what we are trying to do. It's a fight. And you better understand that and get in the fight or avoid the fight. Vishava.
I have a question. If we all good guys and loyal to Srila Prabhupada to withdraw from this institutional structure, then all the real estates and the big temples and the deities will be left in the hands of demons. I don't think we should allow it. We should
Krishna will
fight
take
for
care
it.
of it.
That's not up to you. If you can be effective, do it. If you've got some means to do it, but you don't. Tell me what means you have to bring that about. You can't do it legally, and you can't do it by public opinion.
The temple in Ljubljana is a huge, huge cost, huge problem, huge headache. And it's not even super big temple, it's just a little bit bigger. But there are two buildings, old buildings, constant maintenance needed. I guess that 20 persons can work day and night just to sustain it. No time for preaching, no time for deity worship, and so on. These real estate are basically many times the obstacle of spiritual revolution. So there is no need to have all these things. I would say like this, let them keep. It keeps them busy. It keeps them busy. We don't need anything. What we need is actually just ourselves, like our sadhana, our chanting, and the happiness that Krishna gives us with following him is so enchanting that people, they, even if they don't see, if they're blind, they can feel when we're around them. So there is no need for any building, for any organizational structure, for any supervisory board, for any GBC, for any ABC. No need, because actually this is not spiritual organization that was descended to us from previous acharyas. We are in Guru Parampara system, Guru and disciples, and that's it.
In that regard, when Prabhupada got the corporation papers, he said that he was very happy. Achyutananda Swami was there. He said Prabhupada was beaming over the letter like the father of a newborn child. He says, this is very valuable and this can help us in our preaching. But if it becomes a problem, we can discard it. So
that's important.
when is a problem, right? what we have to look and see. Let's not be sentimental. Let's understand, right? You have to use discriminating intelligence to see what is valuable and what is not. Okay, let them keep the bricks and mortar. That's okay, right? They've already got them. They've already got them, and they're not doing what Prabhupada wanted done. Okay, there's some external appearance of progress. Yes, in India, big temples, many people coming, but what's the result? It's questionable. Maybe not. Okay. Anyway, whatever. What about where you live? Okay. Zagreb. What about Ljubljana? Huh? What about Moscow? What about any place? Right? In Russia, one devotee is writing me and telling me that if they want to get initiated, they got to pay a fee now. Right?
No.
Somebody's taking advantage of their position and saying, okay, yeah, I'll sign your papers so you can get initiated. It's going to cost you 1,000 rubles or whatever. I don't know. This is going on, and they're charging people fee for learning japa. This is what's going on in the institution. Okay, let them do that. Who cares? They're going to do what they're going to do. What are you going to do? That's the question. Are you going to keep wasting your time, or are you going to use your energy while you've still got some, and it goes quick, use your energy for doing the needful? Go ahead, Vishava.
Yeah, we have come to the conclusion that we cannot fix GBC. That's not possible. And we have also come to the conclusion that we cannot remove them legally. But there's one thing we can do. We can disillusion our fellow brothers and sisters who adore form, gurus, titles, and they live under impression that they should be offered obeisances and they should be followed. But that's a substantial number of devotees in Iskcon who live under illusion that they cannot live without institution. I think our goal is to disillusion them and then to engage them in preaching the Sankirtan mission to deliver innocent people on the streets.
Are they listening to you?
Some of them do.
Okay, good.
Some of them
Okay.
do. Yeah.
So, okay, so we can make videos like this, put it out there. They
Yeah.
can hear, and if they have the ears to hear, right, then they can act. Most
And
of
that's why
them, many of them won't.
that's why I would like to have your book in abridged form to broadcast far and wide, so they can come, out from the slumber of illusion to see what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, that's good, and let's work on that. But at the same time, let's make more videos.
Yeah,
Because
definitely videos.
people are watching videos more than they're reading books now.
I would like to see your presentation. I would like to see it on YouTube. If can you put it on YouTube or?
Sure, we're recording it. That's where it's going
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that would.
Yeah. Kishori.
Excuse me, Prabhu.
Yes.
I think that at the same time, yes, of course, Vrishabha Prabhu, I agree with you that we should disillusion people as much as we can. But I think also, and I see it around myself, that this task is kind of not only hard, but kind of dirty. Because when you begin disillusioning people, you, in fact, you crash their basis, the very basis of their life. So in this case, you may attract two types of people. One of them are clever, who are seeking for truth, but most of them just, offended and unhappy with Iskcon. People who are not who are not whose attitude is not to go forward, but those who are in the past, and their past is dark, their Iskcon past is dark, and they're too much attached to that. So it seems to me that we should not only try to disillusion people, but we should be ready to take care of them, to take them in our hearts, not only give them information or facts, not even Guruji's brilliant book, but our love and real care. We should take care of them.
Kishori,
Yeah.
you're reflecting what we read earlier, what I read earlier from Bhakti Rachel, right? She said, yes, I want Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, but at what cost will this be to me? Will I be shouted out and run from the temple by the very devotees that I've known? Will I be thought of as their enemy? That's the risk that you're describing. So not every, right? This is like the Matrix, right? He tells Neo, not everybody's ready to be woken up. And if you try to wake them up, they're going to think of you as their enemy. Okay. They will come to the, we don't achieve liberation in one lifetime, it's gonna, for many, it takes many, many lifetimes. So, we will all progress at our same rate, but the best thing we can do is give a positive example about, what's being accomplished by avoiding being stymied by institutional control.
And this is what we can do. We can simply break away from GBC and institution control. Like Sundarananda Prabhu in Zagreb. He's a good example. There is a bunch of devotees around him. They're running Krishna consciousness according to Srila Prabhupada's teachings and standards. And there's no GBC interference with, they don't allow any GBC to
interfere,
control them. Yeah, interfere. So I think this model we can mirror in everywhere in the world. Of course, it's not easy just to overnight, but if we make more YouTube videos and podcasts and audio recordings and PDF books sharing with other devotees, I think the word will spread out.
The process still works. There's a group of devotees, followers, disciples of Bhaktivikas Swami up in Atlanta, Georgia. It's called Krishna Life. They've got a big, beautiful temple, a lot of enthusiastic devotees. What do? They go out and distribute books. They do Harinam every day and invite people to come to the temple to learn more. That formula still works. Okay. Or, just one-on-one, right? I've got mantra cards wherever I go. When I talk to a clerk in the store, I say, the world's in a really tough spot right now. We need the help of God. What do you think? They always say yes. I said, well, here's a little prayer that you can say every day. Can you repeat after me? I'll teach you this prayer. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. They repeat it, and I say, please recite this prayer every day, praying to the Lord for His mercy to help save this world. Most people accept it. Then we've got the website, right? On the card, there's direction to the website, spiritualrevolution.global. And, I'd like to make this a global thing where devotees all over the world can print similar cards directed to the same website. You don't have to use another website, but then you can have your name there where they can contact for, a local person for more training and information. So it's not rocket science. It can be done easily by anybody everywhere, as long as they have the initiative. Anyway, we're getting on a little long right now, so I think let's end it here. I'd be happy
I'll
to.
just give one more comment if I can.
Sure, sure.
To reply, because it's break away from Iskcon, like you said before, Rishaba. That we just break away. We already broke away. We are already on the other side. We're not there anymore to say. But now I'll put it in totally controversy. We are Iskcon.
Yes.
We didn't break away from Iskcon. We are Iskcon. I'll give you the example. Like about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago, I couldn't come together with Iskcon temple in Ljubljana. I was basically running it, but basically all the strings the old position had, like the bank accounts, all the decision making, like you just couldn't break. They did what they wanted, and you couldn't sit together with them and find some common solution or agree about anything. So then I figure out, okay, I can't work with them. They don't allow me to do any kind of preaching. If I give a suggestion, they put it in some commission and then they roll it for about 1 year with meetings that you die among this time on the meetings. So I said, okay, I'll just do my own organization. I set up the Udruga for the soul. And I just gathered around myself, I asked one by one. I asked devotees who wanted to be part of the preaching. They were just not engaged. And it was not like 1 or 2 or 3. Within 1 or 2 years, I gathered about 15 or 20, I would say like more Brahminical type of devotees, if not really Brahmins, in Slovenia. We organized, I got finances and I financed in year 2014 or 15, 20 different cities in Slovenia, in towns, which we had regular weekly Bhagavad Gita course, actually, masked into PowerPoint presentation of Wisdom of the East, but directly from Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. And we had from September till March, each week, in 20 cities in Slovenia, lectures for 1 hour and a half or 2 hours, run by devotees, Brahminical devotees. So I calculated, because I was each time at the end of the presentation, each week, I called the presenter, a devotee, asked him how many people were there. We were promoting them. People on Facebook, on different medias, with at that time still posters. We had sometimes 300, 400, or even 500 people each week being presented. In Slovenia, a small country, only 2 million people, and very scattered around the hills and, like no big cities. And you know what temple authorities told about this program?
What?
Stop it.
They told to devotees that they shouldn't cooperate with me because I'm not Iskcon project.
Wow.
And and there were only Iskcon devotees doing this, nobody else. Even organizing everything, even marketing everything, only Iskcon devotees. There was no outside institution or person, only Iskcon devotees. And highly, with good sadhana and like really knowledgeable about Bhagavad Gita and other shastras. And like at that point, the authority of Iskcon temple, for at least for myself and for most of devotees in Slovenia, was like, if they say you're not Iskcon, there were many devotees who didn't want to cooperate with me because they were afraid that they will be looked upon as helping non-Iskcon projects, and they will not be Iskcon anymore. Even myself, I was doubting, like, oh, maybe I'm not Iskcon, like maybe I'm not Iskcon project, like. And my Maharaj came, Bir Krishna Maharaj.
You went muted.
You have muted.
Listen, Temple are telling that I'm not Iskcon, that I'm doing.
Wait. Back up. Back up to where Bir Krishna Maharaj came.
Yeah. So yeah, so you know, I asked, and Maharaj looked at me. Just a second, because I'm running out of electricity. Maharaj turned at me because we were, you know what his question was? First question was, Baladev,
What?
how old are you? I said I was 35 at that time, or 36 or something like that. But like I didn't need to answer because the question was self-reflecting, like, okay, like, you don't ask such question. You're old enough to figure out yourself such things, but still, he continued, then said, so what kind of preaching do you do? I said, well, we're doing Bhagavad Gita preaching, a little bit disguised into but the words are from Bhagavad Gita. So he said, and he asked, from Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita? I said, well, which other? I don't know other, Said, then you're Iskcon.
Okay.
Right.
Then you're Iskcon.
But he didn't go to the temple president and tell him, leave you alone and let you continue, did he?
No. He supported 100%. He said, don't bother about them. Just continue preaching.
Well, what about all the others who were bothered about them?
Well, if somebody had a question, I had to, for a year or two, I was basically speaking to each devotee that we are Iskcon, to each of our preachers, you are Iskcon, we are Iskcon, like I had to persuade myself, and then to them that though if Ananta didn't confirm our project, we're still Iskcon. It took time, and still today there are some people who don't understand that.
Yeah. Well, this
Slovenia.
this is going on when I was staying with you in Slovenia.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And
So
the last, yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, we are Iskcon. We are Iskcon. So I'm 100% sure we are Iskcon.
Yeah.
So
This
Vrishabha,
is
we
what
are Iskcon.
this is what Iskcon. You're serving the purpose of Iskcon. You're Iskcon. Forget
Yeah.
about the form. Okay. It's like Yamuna. She went to Prabhupada and she said, Prabhupada, the GBC are telling us we're not in Iskcon because we don't surrender to their authority. And Prabhupada says, anybody who's chanting Hare Krishna is in Iskcon. Very simple definition.
So we don't need to talk, should we be part of Iskcon, not part, or have another Iskcon. So we are Iskcon. And if they don't want us to understand that we're Iskcon, this is their problem, not our problem. We are Iskcon. But we don't need to follow all these GBCs and whoever. Of course, we do follow our gurus if we think they're bona fide, or otherwise we don't.
You don't know how many times I've heard the same story in different parts of the world. Again and again and again. Again, this is why I say, you judge by the result. These can't be devotees who are saying, stop the preaching. Why? Oh, because you're not authorized? Well, then authorize me. Okay? Well, that's all you have to do is say you're authorized. Then it goes on. No, they don't do that. They stop it.
Yeah. And the last thing that I would like to share, because this is, I guess, the most, at least for myself, for my inspiration, is the most important. That basically the only really good preaching that I experienced in my life from myself, I'll just be honest, like I saw it, how it really works. It was when I didn't say a single word about the Bhagavad Gita, about why I chant, about why I get up early, about why I don't drink alcohol, about why I don't eat meat. I didn't say nothing. At the same time, I didn't bother about this other people, saying them, even not in a nice way, that I would say, it's not good to eat meat, or, it's not good to smoke. No, not a single word. People smoke, let them smoke. People eat meat, what can I do? I'm not encouraging them, but you know, like I just left them.
Mute yourself, Vishama.
And but I was just pursuing my own lifestyle. And you know, to be with Krishna 24 hours a day if possible, do the sadhana, chant my rounds, and you know, feel happy about it. You know, like really, I was inspired about it. And it took time, maybe a year. But after a year, we were sitting outside, you know, like to eat something. And all my friends usually took pizza with some meat or, you know, like some, you know, seafood or something. And if I took some pizza, I took margarita, of course, you know, like the basic, if possible, just not to bother them too much, you know. And at some point, you know, after a year, a couple that were at the table, they decided, when they already said we would have, you know, like with prosciutto, but they said, nah, maybe this time we would have some vegetarian one. After a year, and all the other people around the table were going on them, not on me, on them. Oh, what's happening? You know, you're too much influenced by Baladev. You know, you should stop this, you know, like you'll become like him. And they said, no, we want to be like this. I think that he's working, he's doing his life healthy. He's doing a healthy lifestyle. We want to be like him. And I didn't say a word. And after that, the same couple came to me during the party time. They ran to me, to their girl and boy, you know, like being together, and they go like, very inspired, you know, like, Baladev, I mean, Borat, my name is Borat, and they say, Borat, you know, like, you know that I stopped smoking, you know, and I was watching, okay, nice. And also the boyfriend said, you know, like, I also stopped smoking. I said, nice, you know, and they were watching at me. I said, why are you watching at me like this? You know, I was feeling uncomfortable. And they said, well, why? We stopped this because of you.
Jai Prabhupada.
You know, and I was like, it took me some time, you know, to together, you know, like, and said, okay, I didn't say a word to these people, you know, to stop smoking, you know. But I was super inspired, you know. I said, wow, if it works like this, then this should be my life, you know.
Do you remember when I was explaining about when I went to the Berkeley Psychic Institute about chanting Hare Krishna?
Yes. Tell this story again, please.
We don't know that.
I don't know
Okay.
that.
Yes, you know Baladev. Anyway, so this is back in the 80s. One friend of mine was going to the Berkeley Psychic Institute. They teach people how to be psychic. So my friend asked me, you want to go they'll give you a free reading of your aura. So I thought, okay, that'll be interesting. Let's go. So we go in the building and he sits down one place, I sit down another. And after a few minutes, they're telling him about different colors of his aura. And the people who are reading my aura, right, they do it with their eyes closed. They're sitting there, 3 students supposed to be reading my aura and nothing, not saying anything.
Oh,
So one teacher in the room, she keeps walking back and forth and looking at me from my feet to my head, back to, you know. And after a while, she says, excuse me, do you have a spiritual teacher? I said, yes. Oh, who is that? Bhaktivedanta Swami. Well, he must be very powerful because we cannot see your aura. You're surrounded by this column of white light and we can't see inside it. So sorry, no.
wow.
So
Jai Prabhupada.
I understood from this, oh, these people have some psychic ability. Okay. So I signed up for a class to, you know, see what's going on. So go to class the first day. As soon as I walk in the door, the teacher, he looks at me. Oh, you're doing some kind of meditation, are you? I said, yeah. He said, don't do that. We don't like that. Yeah. Next week I come to class. As soon as I come in the door, he looks at me. Oh, you're still doing this meditation, are you? Yeah. Don't do that. We don't like that. Yeah. Third week I come to class, come in the door. He said, I thought I told you to stop. I said, yeah, well, that doesn't mean I'm going to. He said, you don't understand. when you come into this room, you change the energy in the entire room. So if you're not going to stop doing what you're doing, don't come back. So I turned around and left. So simply you're chanting and being in your association, they're being purified. Some of them, not everybody, but those who are ready.
Yeah.
This is the power of
Those who
my
already.
name.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's the Matrix. You know, that movie is so amazing. You know, if you haven't seen it, everybody hasn't seen it, see part 1, because they just explain everybody's in Maya, and some of them don't want to get out of Maya, and you can't wake them up. Okay, but there are some who are ready, and those are the ones that we focus on. And we find them by praying to Krishna, send them to me, send them, you know, let me contact them, and just contacting everybody we can. And whoever we meet, like Lord Chaitanya said, please ask them to chant the Hare Krishna Maha-mantra, right? That's all we can do. The rest is up to Krishna. How it's going to spread. We can have another Hare Krishna explosion, right? Like it was in America in the 60s. What's going on in the world now is just like it was in the 60s. No different. There's a lot of chaos and change, and people were freaked out. And the same as it spread in the Soviet Union, in Russia, in the early days, right? The same thing can happen, but we have to be the instrument, right? We have to put ourselves out there as the instrument to inspire people. Do this. Okay, let's stop there. Thank you very much for your association. And
Thank you, Guruji.
let's continue if we can. We'll try to fix up another time. And if anybody has any questions about this video from Facebook or wherever, send them to me. And we'll do a follow-up question and answer on this and discuss the whole matter further, okay? So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Srimad Prabhu ki jai.
Haribol.
Jai. Very well.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.